we got a new sponsor. If you didn't hear last week, Game Up. It's official. Chevy, tell them about it.
It's a hard hydration drink, thirst-quenching adult beverage, so it has alcohol in it. They're all 4.9%, so comparable to a beer, but they got 4 great flavors currently: fruit punch, orange, lemon, lime, and grape.
Low carb and only 110 calories per can. Check it out. Game Up. They're our sponsor. UFC 298. There was so much happening on this one. A lot of stories coming out of here. I really enjoyed this card. Let's just get right into the first fight, man.
Anthony Fluffy Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov.
I believe I picked Hernandez. I think we both picked Hernandez for this. I think we both picked by submission, too. And I think you even said, he had striking skills to knock Kopylov down. Kopylov does have the power. The guy is just watching him fight this weekend. I noticed something like everything he throws, he's got bad intent. He's definitely a threat, and he's definitely somebody with a lot of promise still. But Hernandez is, to me, it's funny. I heard Bisping say this on the commentary. He's not necessarily the fastest or the strongest, but he's that dog. And I thought really a better way to just be saying this guy's a little bit good everywhere. He's just got a little bit of everything. But the big thing is he's just durable. When you can see him when he gets hit, he doesn't stop going. He's still going forward, and he doesn't have a problem getting hit. He's got a great chin. He enjoys being in that kind of fight, and it's it just turns it up a notch. In the end, Anthony Hernandez, really good prospect, I think. Now, I looked at his UFC fights, and it looked like he struggled in the first 2 fights, and you might not have saw this happening, but yeah, he's turned into somebody that I really want to see. I'll let you talk a little bit more about that, but just the way he secured that choke, it was a real thing of beauty because, it looked like he had him. And Roman did such a good job defending it. And then it looks like Roman get up and the crowd's excited, and it snatches that back on even tighter. I always like to throw opponents after a UFC pay-per-view. I'm just going to mention a name. I think Chris Curtis and Anthony Hernandez would be a really fun fight because Curtis is obviously another guy who's good everywhere too.
That'd be a great matchup. Or Imavov would be good too. He's quietly put together this winning streak. I think he has 5 or 6 wins in a row now at middleweight. So 5. So he's definitely making his way towards a title shot. He probably has 2, maybe 3, depending on, the performance. But he's got a couple more wins to go, depending on the names he beats as well. But yeah, very exciting fighter for sure. Just his style. He's never in a boring fight. When he locked, like you said, it looked like he had locked up that rear naked choke right before that. Kopylov, good defense, fought the hands, able to get up. And then when he sat up, Fluffy sunk it in again. And you could tell he started nodding. He knew that it was in there deep and that he had him. And then right after that came the tap. So shout out to Anthony Hernandez. Very exciting prospect coming through the pipe. Merab Dvalishvili versus Henry Cejudo.
So I remember we talked about this, and this is another one we agreed on. We thought Merab would win. And we did talk about, I think, how Cejudo was dangerous, a stylistic, because Cejudo should be able to stop the wrestling. And, better striker overall. And if you watch that first round, Cejudo, I thought, got a really good jab in there. And I have to go back to see if Cejudo won that first round or not. But I remember looking comfortable, and I thought, got an interesting fight here. And then, nope, this totally changed. Round 2, it was like a switch just happened. And Merab just, the gas tank. If there's a Hall of Fame, cardio gas tank, Merab should probably have his own wing. This guy is the machine. It's insane. And this overwhelms some people. And I just can't remember anybody fans were just into who has this type of style of fight. It helps that he's a charming kind of guy that everybody loves.
He's funny online as well.
But man, it's something to see. It's just really incredible. He's out there with that guillotine in round 2, trying to get the finish. Talking to Zuckerberg there. And then, he's got that Matt Hughes, Frank Trigg 2 slam at the end in round 3, too.
It carried a Olympic gold medalist across the cage to slam him down.
Yeah, it is interesting. Great win from Merab. No real mystery about who I think he should fight next. He should fight for the championship. He's the most deserving number 1 contender possibly ever. He's been deserving for a while. I just, I think this guy, it's very interesting. I don't think anybody can beat him right now at bantamweight. I don't think we'll find out. I think O'Malley's got that style that he's capable of starching somebody because of the reach, but it's going to have to be someone who's going to have to catch him. Like, if nobody catches this guy on the chin coming in, I don't think anybody's beating him skill to skill right now overall. Like, I don't think anyone can deal with that wrestling, that cardio, and just that constant pressure.
I think Vera, who is fighting next for the belt, has a better chance because he has all those explosive strikes, the knees up the middle, the leg kicks. And he does have a dangerous guard, an active guard too, which you would have to use. So if Sean O'Malley does win that fight against Vera, obviously we're going to see Merab next, but we're going to see Sean's grappling for sure. I personally haven't seen anything to indicate that it's going to be good enough to stop Merab or reverse Merab or anything, but I don't think anyone can. We'll see.
I don't think styles make fights, and I just don't see how O'Malley, this is for him, this is the worst style matchup it could be. That's a good call with Vera. I wasn't discounting him, but yes, maybe stylistically he would be even a tougher matchup because of his array of strikes stuff. And maybe a guy like Corey Sandhagen too would present some interesting issues. But right now, I definitely favor Merab over the whole division.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said about Merab. Let's talk about Henry a little bit. He retired afterwards.
He's retiring now. Okay.
I believe that's what he said, yeah. And then, obviously, this is his second retirement. The UFC did not give him any time on the broadcast to say anything. Didn't show him putting the gloves down in the octagon. He didn't show up to the press conference to say anything.
Dana addressed this. His slant on it is that, and he's been, I think he's been a little sour at this since Clay Guida faked a retirement that one time. Thanks, Clay. Fucking up for everybody. The way he said it was that this was Merab's moment. And Henry retired a couple years ago. You had your chance and you had your, got the gloves down, talk. This is about Merab tonight. If you want to retire, it's fine. And so when I hear that, I get his point. But we don't have time for Henry, Olympic champion.
He's one of the greatest combat athletes of all time. Yeah, he was upset that, he wasn't getting paid a lot and he pushed back. And that was a lot about what his retirement was when he dropped both belts. He was 2-division champ at the time. But I just think it's a little bit disrespectful to not even show him putting the things down, And that has to come straight from Dana. There's not some guy in the production truck saying, don't give him any time. Right. This is a Vince McMahon kind of move thing. So that's definitely straight from the top. I don't like it. I'm not the biggest Henry Cejudo fan, but I do respect what he's done on the mats and in the octagon. I think the UFC should as well. But
I'll say this. I'll leave it on this. If anybody was ever a victim of UFC being more of a business than a martial arts company, and I'm not saying that it's not both, but if it's Cejudo, because here was a guy
or DJ.
Oh, sure, we can throw DJ in there, but I'm just saying with Cejudo, the multiple division championship and the Olympic gold medal pedigree, you have all that, and at the end of the day, he pulls the power play and says, "I'm getting out." They didn't care, and they moved on. And honestly, like you said, I got the respect for him too, but so was the rest. Nothing was going to hold up for him at the end of the day. And it's a little bit of a bummer that Henry, and I understand why he did it, but it's a little bit of a bummer now, just the way because everything played out, that he set out some of his prime years for retirement. Because it would have been interesting.
I wonder how he feels about that now for sure, because he shows at this point, which we use, he's 37 or something like that. He can still get in there with the top level guys, but obviously he's not up to beating Merab, and the Aljo one was debatable. But if he didn't sit out, I think it was 3 years he sat out, 3 prime years. If he didn't sit out for those, how long would his reign have been? We could be talking about him as the greatest of all time, because he didn't do drugs like John Jones or hit any pregnant women or anything like that. So
he did not do that.
We love Henry. Good luck in retirement. I'm sure we'll see him around the UFC, maybe commentating or on the YouTube or something like that. But good luck to him. Geoff Neal versus Ian Machado Garry.
Not a stylistically, as you would have thought, exciting fight. They kind of shut each other down. Garry, kind of played the distance game a little bit, and there was a clinch a lot. And sometimes Geoff Neal would institute the clinch. Despite I think Geoff should have been try to be more explosive, which he would be, but then he'd do the clinch, and I just didn't think it was the greatest game plan for Geoff. At the end of the day, I've seen this a few times, I feel like, with Ian Garry, though. I feel like he's just got this interesting style where he's going to finish people or he's going to be in some of these kind of point fights sometimes, which could haunt him someday because he's had a couple fights like this where I thought were close. And I'm like, that could go either way. I didn't have a problem with the decision. Good for Ian Garry. I wouldn't have had a problem if Geoff Neal won either. I like Geoff Neal. I don't care about Ian Garry's personal life, like apparently a ton of people.
Right, I'm with you with that too. Like, I'm sick of hearing about it. Like, who cares what this guy does in his off time? Yeah,
you got to get over it, people. Like, he's gonna be around. Like, he's beating people like Neil Magny, Geoff Neal. I'm not saying that's a tough fucking division. I'm not saying he's gonna be the champ,
right?
But he's gonna be around. I'll just say too, the call out afterwards with Kobe, I'm down for. Probably gonna be fucking cringe as fuck if that fight happens in terms of the
it's going to be painful promotion and build up for sure.
But it's a good call out. I'll just throw another name out there because I never know what Kobe's really doing. It seems like sometimes he just disappears for a long time. And I'll just say Stephen Wonderboy Thompson in terms of just a skill and you want to see where you're at.
Wonderboy would like that one too because Ian's probably not going to take him down. Right. You know, it would be a kickboxing match. So yeah, if he wants, that's also a great progression for him going up through the ranks too. So yeah, that's a great call. I think that's probably, you know, who he should have called out. But I guess Colby's a big name and he thinks he can build a fight. As far as the fight goes, and you were talking about sometimes we're going to get these fights with Ian Garry. Yeah, he cares more about winning, and that's what he should do. I think he said in the post-fight presser, you'd be running too if Geoff Neal's running after you trying to take your head off. So that's where he was doing all his damage, was when he would run and then he would set and just basically counter Geoff as he came in with those teep kicks, long kicks, and then the crosses as he was coming in, keeping that jab out there. So not the most exciting fight. I also think there's a lot of pressure on Ian. He talked a lot about, or he made it seem like he didn't really care about all the stuff outside of the cage and how it's not going to affect him. But it does. He's a human being. There's a lot coming at him. It's a lot of extra pressure, you know, and I'm not saying he doesn't put a lot on himself as well, but it's a lot when you get in there. So winning is the number one thing. He did what he had to do to win. So good on him. Let's move on. I'm sick of hearing about Ian Garry. Robert Whitaker versus Paulo Costa.
Good fight. Fun fight.
Surprisingly good. Yeah. I thought it would be good, but not the way that it was.
I don't see. I thought Costa had a chance to stop him. I just thought stylistically early he had a chance to stop him. That flying head kick, those crazy head kicks Costa throws. Like, he throws them like so quick and everything. Like, I'm surprised he hasn't caught more people with that. At the end of the day, though, was Whitaker saved by the bell in that first round? Maybe. Yeah. And it's interesting because Costa won that first round. I think a lot of people's scorecards, which I don't have a problem with. But it got me thinking, too, afterwards. Like, Whitaker had won most of that round, and then he got caught. So I always thought it's an interesting way to score it, which I don't have a problem with it, again, too, because, like, you can control most of the round, but if you are getting saved by the bell or arguably saved by the bell, then I don't have a problem giving that fighter that round a lot of times. Unless, you know, you were getting 10-8'd most of that.
Right.
Round. Right.
No, I'm with you. That was potentially fight-ending sequence, so I think you got to give Costa that.
And then Whitaker, he did enough. He won the rest of the fight. He looked sharp. He bit down on his mouthpiece, and he's so good in these moments. Like, you go back to his Yoel Romero wars he's had too in the past, like where he just bites down his mouthpiece, but he's also got this intensity and he boxes really well in these situations and he mixes in those takedowns when he can. Costa stopped the takedowns though. Whitaker, to me, just looked like the better overall fighter, but Costa just looked like a guy who was constantly dangerous. You know, he wasn't as good as Whitaker, but you know, like, it'd be very interesting if you had, like, you know, Merab joked about like a 10-round fight. It'd be very interesting for people like Costa, Yoel Romero. I'll even throw Max Holloway. These people, the Diaz brothers back in the day, they don't really seem to get finished ever, to see how they would do in these long ass fights. You know, great win for Whitaker. Opponent, listen. At the end of the day, if Izzy's going to be out for a little while, I got no problem with Whitaker getting back and fighting for the title, despite coming off that DDP loss. Strickland just lost. If they're going to do, say, Izzy or someone next, I'll just say it. I got no problem watching Whitaker and Sean Strickland fight. I think that would be a very interesting fight, and that I wouldn't mind seeing that next.
Yeah, I think that's a good matchup. That probably should be next because we haven't seen that fight yet. Like a good, number one contender sort of deal. So as far as the fight with Costa, I was happy with Costa's volume was, I think, improved from what it normally is. His cardio looked good. Obviously, that wheel kick that he landed was phenomenal. I thought he looked really good. Takedown defense that you mentioned, very good. Whitaker just looked closer to, I wouldn't say he was, but he looked closer to vintage Bobby Knuckles. And, that's just a hard guy to beat. He has that style where he blitzes in and lands that 1-2 combo. He comes flying in and lands a 1-2, and it's just really hard for guys to deal with. So he's durable. Obviously, he recovered pretty quickly. A minute is not that long. So recovered from that wheel kick. He ate some shots, other shots from Costa. He's the man. So I want to see him again soon, hopefully against Strickland. That'd be a good fight. Let's talk about why we were all sad at the end of the night. Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria.
All right. First, let's talk about some of the positives. Ilia Topuria, he is new blood in this division. And this division was really needing a shakeup on a certain level. Volk had lapped this division at this point, which is why we love him. Plus, the unfortunate Volk coming in off those 2 losses, that second loss, to Islam, where he took a fight on short notice. We knew it was a possibility. We knew the timing of this was, this is tough to see Volk coming in this fight. But I will say this, Volk came in, looked like, to me, I had him, I think a lot of people did, winning that first round. He looked good, and then he kind of just got caught, which, again, is just putting up more questions, right? Because now it's like, and by the way, I'm not saying that, when I say questions, I mean just more like, he got caught again, but there's a reason why he got caught. He is a sharpshooter. This guy is, possibly, I don't want to say the best boxer at featherweight because so many great boxers at featherweight. Max Holloway, of course. But I mean, even more than that, Calvin Kattar. But Ilia is definitely put a stake here, and he's young and he's hungry and he's got that undefeated confidence, which I know people have mentioned in the past too. Sometimes that can work for you when you don't know defeat, you don't have this.
You're not worried. Yeah. It's not even a thought in your mind.
So this could be quite a ride for him. There's a stat. I don't know if we had talked about it that I heard this morning before we did this. And I thought it was very interesting because Volk is 35 now. And UFC male fighters 150 pounds to below are 0-15 in championship fights. I think 170, it's like 122 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that just, that's a big thing right there, because, these lighter weight divisions are just so difficult because you have so many people that are, they're so skilled, like heavyweight, light heavyweight, even middleweight to a degree. You can come in with some raw power, but with that 170 to below, especially the lower you get, it's such a game of inches. What everybody
athleticism is very important, and that leaves you when you get to 30, 35. Early 30s, 35, yeah.
For a combat sport athlete, right? I mean, that's the thing, and an elite combat sport athlete with that. I will not doubt Volk though, just because that stat. I mean, if there's a rematch, I'm gonna favor Topuria now, knowing all this information, knowing to see. Would I count out Volk? Absolutely not. This guy has made an argument for greatest featherweight champion of all time. He's a legend. Does he deserve the rematch? Absolutely. That's what they should do. I hope if they do it, I hope they do it in Spain, and I hope they make a big deal out of it. And I think that's good on a couple fronts because it's good promotion for Ilia too. If that fight doesn't happen, we'll see how the Max Holloway fight plays out. A lot of people have talked about stylistically how Max would be a really good opponent for Ilia, especially because the striking, Max has got that, and Max has got a chin like granite, obviously, that big Hawaiian warrior chin of his that just can't be stopped, And
Ilia's short too, so it'd be, he could use the range. And it didn't work out for him from Volkanovski, but
Max has been around for a while. He's 32, still relatively young. It's hard to say about those fight years. We'll see a lot when Max takes this fight with Justin Gaethje. I'm in the minority, I think, though. I know a lot of people are talking about, Justin Gaethje is, it's watching Max go up to lightweight. We've seen this before. I'm not so sure about that. I am not so sure. I have this strange feeling we could see Max shock the world, and I don't want to go because we're going to comment on that fight eventually when we get to it. But Gaethje's a dog, and yes, he's been more focused, and he's been more careful about how he fights. But there's something about this guy where I think he knows Max has never been stopped. And he's the type of guy that like to have that on his list. Mm-hmm. And when he starts rocking Max, I think he will, starts rocking him, he might make the mistake of keep going. It's a 5-round fight, and we've seen it. This guy doesn't get tired. This guy just keeps going. And I would not be surprised if Max shocks the world. And I'm going to say this too. I always wanted to see Max versus Khabib because Max has a very interesting side. He doesn't stay down. He never stays down. So I would be interested to see what would happen with him in Islam. That being said, Volk deserves a rematch. And also, we're going to get into it later. If Volk doesn't get the rematch and he's hurt and we have to wait for this Max to play, there's a pretty damn good co-main event this weekend. You could see a potential challenger there as well. So a lot of options to go here. Overall, bummer for Volk. Exciting time in this division.
I know Volkanovski said that he got caught, but I thought that there were a few times that Ilia could have got him. And I think the commentary team mentioned this too, that when he was backing up, he was keeping his chin up. And that's what happened when he got hit, is his chin was up. If he's not keeping it tucked, it's there to get hit. And, Ilia has all that power. And I think Volkanovski mentioned this as well. But that would have put him out regardless of whether he got KO'd by Islam or not. But there are other issues that come with those kinds of, brain injuries, those concussions and stuff, just reflexes and, your feel in there. And maybe he would have kept his chin, had the cognizance to keep his chin a little bit more tucked had he not gotten knocked out brutally a couple months ago. And this knockout was also very bad. He was out for like a while. So I'd like to see Volkanovski take some time off, almost a year maybe. I know he's not young, but if he wants to give it one more chance, if they're going to give him a rematch when he comes back, then that's fine. If Ilia doesn't want to wait and he wants to fight somebody else, that'd be fine. But I want to see Volkanovski take a little bit of time off regardless. As much as that did make me sad, I am impressed with Ilia. Mm-hmm. His build up and all his promotion stuff was very cringy, and I was hoping he was going to get knocked out, but I am a fan of the guy's skills. He is very skilled. So shout out to him. He is about to blow up and be a giant star, though. Real Madrid, I don't know if you know much about them. They're maybe one of the greatest soccer franchises in the history of the sport. They did like a Twitter post or some sort of Instagram post with him, and I'm sure he's going to get like 20 million new fans overnight from that. And I think there are talks about when the UFC does go to Spain, potentially fighting in the Bernabeu, which is where Real Madrid play. So because they have a retractable roof on their stadium, so it could be closed in, so they don't have to worry about rain.
50,000 seats, I think.
It's a giant stadium. I don't know how many. It's tens of thousands, like probably 70 or 80 or 90,000.
I think they were saying like if configured like for a UFC event, it might be 50, but it could be more.
Yeah, so he's going to blow up. That's going to be, if that happens, that's going to be huge for Europe, not just Spain. But so shout out to him. Yeah, I know he has a child coming too. He did a gender reveal the day after the fight, but I am excited for the division. You're right. It does mix it up a little bit.